when we go to concerts and things like that, I always get a tap on the back at the end of the show, and they always say, I wish that I could enjoy the show as much as your son is. He just, because he has no filter, and he just enjoys it. If he wants to get up and dance, he does. If he wants to sing, he does. And he loves every moment.
Welcome to episode number 56 of the 100 Successful Women, a Conversation to Inspire series. We are here to shine a light to extraordinary women who have made a difference in different aspects of their life and also in the world. In this episode, I'm so honored to introduce you Julie Fisher, a mother, an advocate, and a true inspiration. Julie's journey began around 18 years ago when her son Darcy was diagnosed with Down syndrome. Since then, she became a fierce advocate for inclusion and acceptance, not just for Darcy, but for all individuals living with disabilities. A best-selling author, TEDx speaker, and a radio host, Julie has dedicated her life to breaking down barriers and changing perception. So get ready to be moved by her raw honesty, challenged by her insight, and inspired by her unwavering commitment to creating a more inclusive world. So let's hear Julie's story, a testament to the power of love, determination, and the belief that every voice matters. Without further ado, let's dive into our conversation coming up next. Hey Julie, thank you so much for jumping on to be one of the guests of the 100 Successful Women. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Vivienne. It's an absolute pleasure to be part of this with you, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was such a great pleasure to have you because I know Julie virtually for quite some time already. We haven't met each other in person. I'm so looking forward to see you in person in July, Julie.
Yes, that'll be great.
Amazing.
It will be awesome. I can't wait as well. It's going to be a great day.
Yes, I reckon as well. So Julie, I'm not sure you did watch some of my episodes before. There's one question that I always start with is, I know that you play different roles. Obviously, you are an amazing mom and also a writer, a speaker, and amazing staff for a company, right? So you do different things in your life. So despite all these hats that you're wearing, who is really Julie Fisher at your core?
At my core, well, I guess a mum, definitely, and a wife. I love my family, and I think the advocate has really come out in me since Darcy was born, and even more so since the books and the public speaking all started to take shape. So I'm very passionate about creating positive change for people with disability, and Darcy is my why and the catalyst for that. And I think, I've definitely found my passion, and I think when I speak about it and when I write about it, I really feel that fire in the belly. So I think that is me at the core, and all the other things that I do I love as well. And they all contribute to that too. I learn from each area of things that I do. I learn more, and I can add that into my advocating. So that's probably who I am at the core, for sure.
Yeah, no, you're definitely such an amazing mom. There will be they're going to listen to your story, which I am going to maybe ask you to share later. So I know that you have been advocating for people with disability or special needs, for them, like you say, on the light behind you, give people a chance and watch them shine. So do you want to share a little bit of your story? I know that Darcy has been having his special need kid. So can you share a little bit the story when you first learned about the condition for Darcy? What actually went through your mind at that initial moment?
Okay, yes, I can definitely share that. So before I even got pregnant with Darcy, though, I became friends with a lady called Tina, and we're still friends now. We've had a 20 plus year friendship, and she has a daughter with Down syndrome. Our older children were in the same classroom together, so we became friends very, very quickly. And I used to love watching her daughter in the playground. And what I loved the most about it was how much like the other children she was, despite her disability. She has Down syndrome, as I just mentioned. So I used to ask Tina lots and lots of questions about her because I didn't know much about Down syndrome. And one of the questions I asked her was, what was it like to get a postnatal diagnosis? And she said, look, we love her with all of our heart, but it was extremely difficult. There was lots of emotions. It was a real roller coaster. And every time we thought we were sort of, becoming more, not accepting of it, but getting used to the fact that, and starting to learn more, somebody would come in and visit and they would cry and it would all start all over again. And I remembered walking home from school that day after dropping the children off, that I would never want that to happen. I would want to know while I was pregnant so that we could try and stop the tears when the baby's born. So fast forward about 18 months and I became pregnant with Darcy. And with one of the scans, there was a little bit of a question. He kept measuring the skin fold at the back of the neck, which is a marker. And I'd learnt the markers from Tina as well. So I came home and I said to my husband, I think the baby has Down syndrome, but we need to do, back then, which was 19 years ago, we needed to do an amniocentesis. And so I went to another obstetrician and I asked him. I felt very safe getting it done. So we had the amniocentesis and we got a 100% verification that he had Down syndrome. So we were able to tell everybody while I was pregnant, and we were able to go through that roller coaster of emotions ourselves and with everybody else while I was pregnant. So when Darcy was born, everybody was really excited to meet him, and he has known nothing but happiness since he has been born. And I think finding out while I was pregnant did do that for him. So yeah, we wanted to get our kids, we wanted them to know what was happening, and we needed to work out what that meant for us as a family. So and learn. And even though we knew Tina and we could watch Jamie grow up, it was going to be different for us because everybody's different anyway. So yeah.
Wow. So Jamie is is Tina's daughter?
That's right. Yes, so Darcy's 18 now and Amy's 22.
Okay. So you've been so amazing. You're such a big heart, because prior to Darcy, you already having that inclusive of others yourself as well.
Yeah, I guess so. And I liked that Tina allowed me to ask all of the questions that I wanted to ask so that I could learn. And, I didn't even know that we were going to go ahead and have another child back then when all of that was happening. But I was interested to learn more about Amy because I could see that Tina and I were becoming friends as well. So I wanted to know about her. And yeah, I asked her lots of questions. She said, you can ask me whatever you like. And that's what I'm like when people want to ask questions about Darcy. There's no question that's too hard. It's the way we learn.
So Tina has been supporting you along the way since the beginning.
Yes, and she was running a sport group, actually a coffee group. So I was able to join that while I was pregnant. And I got to meet some amazing mums, and the children were aged between 1 and 7. So I got to see this real vast difference of the kids and what they were doing, what schooling was looking like for them. These ladies told me what I needed to get in place for Darcy, which was early intervention, a good paediatrician. So I booked all of that in while I was pregnant with his, estimate due date. And we just went from there. And I actually had all of his primary school years mapped out before he was even born because of these ladies and the different things that they were doing. So it was really beneficial. I loved it because, again, they all allowed me to ask them questions and they asked me questions. It was quite interesting because years later, one of the ladies said, I'll never forget the first day you walked into the coffee group, and she said, we all looked at you with such admiration because we thought, here's this lady and she knows what's coming, and here she is with a smile on her face, and she's excited about the baby. But I looked at them with the same look because I thought, here are all these women with these children with Down syndrome, and look how amazing they're doing. So it was quite funny to hear that feedback many years later.
Wow, such a phenomenal, because you might be someone who is really different as well, because you react differently. So prior, I would say, to be in your position, it might be something, or your upbringing, or some of the mindset that has been supporting you to take this so easily, I would say. So what are some of the pivotal moments? Because there should be some, for other people, I'm not really sure about you because you has been taking it so positively. And
Yeah.
like you say, you walk in with a big smile, while other moms might be challenging for them as well. So what is the pivotal moment that transformed or allowed you to be that, having that uncertainty to a determination to bring Darcy, and he's such a happy boy now. So how did you manage to do that, Julie?
There's probably a couple of things. When I was growing up at school, there was a girl at school that everybody used to pick on. And, you know, it was awful. She didn't have any friends and she always used to sit by herself. And while I didn't pick on her, I never stopped it either. So I remember, I think I was in about grade 5, so about 11 years old. And I was watching her one lunchtime and I just walked up to her, and the fear in her eyes as she saw me approaching was awful, because she thought I was going to attack her and pick on her. But I sat next to her and I said, I just want to say I'm really sorry for the way everybody treats you. And, you know, a big smile came on her face, and that was all I said. And, you know, I didn't interact with her again after that, except I used to wave at her. I just felt so terrible. I thought, imagine being on your own every day at school while everybody else is playing with each other and, you know, laughing, and it must have just been so difficult for her. I'd love to know what she's doing now, actually. So that's probably one. And then the other, which you might want to ask me some questions about as well, but when I was 15 years old, I learned that my parents were actually my grandparents.
Oh, wow.
So the lady that I'd grown up with as my sister was my biological mother. So when I found that out, at first I was very upset and didn't really know how to deal with it, and I took off on my bike. And I remember I left my poor mum at home crying, and my dad had gone to work, and I suddenly decided, oh my goodness, I'm actually growing up with two of the most wonderful people in the world. They didn't have to take me. I need to find out more about what happened when I was born, as to how I ended up in their care. And I thought, I've grown up in the most beautiful house. So I went back and apologized to them to my mum for taking off, and we just sat and talked about it all. And I learned about what had happened when I was born, and I was very grateful from that point on. So that may be a pivotal moment as well, because none of my friends were like that. You know, they weren't being raised by their grandparents. But it's interesting because when I speak about that, everybody seems to know somebody in that situation. Like even some of the famous actors like Jack Nicholson, he has the exact same story as me. His grandmother raised him, and his mother was his sister growing up. I don't know what age he was when he found out, but I remember asking my mum and dad, why didn't they tell me earlier? And they said that they were too scared. And the longer it got, the more scared they got. And I was having an argument with my mum, which was how it all erupted. So, yeah, I'd say that they're probably the two biggest moments that changed the way I think about things like that. So.
Oh, wow. I didn't expect that to come. Wow, that's such a thank you so much for sharing with me such a vulnerable stories, and that's something that is so personal as well. Yeah, it is something that you probably, I would say that might be your defining moment as well, right?
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
So, that's like, so is that, do you now call your mom your sister, or how does that work now? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I still call her Gabby, which is her name, and I still refer to my mum and dad, who have passed now, as my mum and dad. But I did find my biological father when I was 29, and we've got a really lovely relationship. So that's been 20 plus years now. My eldest son was only a baby when we found them. So that's been really nice to have that as well. So all the pieces got put together.
Wow, that's I feel so emotional listening to your story, Julie. Wow, that's such a big moment for you. So probably that I'll leave that for another time because I wasn't think of becoming it or Julie. Yeah, but that's something that probably people will be wondering as well. How did you overcome all these uncertainties, all those challenges? Because at the time or at the moment when you decide to maybe confront with your mom and dad and to confront with your sister Gabby and to decide to meet your biological father, that's a lot of roller coaster during that time, I would say, right? Yeah, like I say, I will leave that for next time. Let's focus on now because that's a lot for us to, I think that creates so much curiosity for people as well, because there are a lot of people who go through similar journey like you, right? You did say that.
Definitely, yeah.
Yes, and that's such an important message that you might be able to share with others as well. So let's focus on Darcy today.
Yes.
Yes, and I know that like you say, you found your voice and courage because from what you just shared, we all realize that your journey or your determination to voice up wasn't starting when you start meeting Tina, wasn't starting when Darcy is here. It was like 15 when you was like in grade 5, did you say? Year 5 with your friends. And yeah, that's such a great you're someone who are so lovable, and that's why you are able to stand up for others as well. So as a mom and a caregiver, so advocating for Darcy, for people who are in special needs, require a lot of persistence and also strength as well, Julie. So can you share a time probably when you faced with challenge? What are the challenges that you face along the way, and how did you overcome that?
With Darcy, do you mean, or with being out in the community?
Yeah, bringing out for the community, advocating for Darcy. Yeah, I remember you mentioned something before about the story about Darcy at school as well, right? When he trying to go to the camp or something like that. Yeah.
Oh yes, I've got lots of stories.
Yeah. So maybe share one of the story. What is the most profound moment?
Yeah, probably the one that always comes to mind first is the day that we were at the movies. A friend had dropped us off. We'd had a lovely afternoon, Darcy and I, seeing one of his favourite movies, and we were waiting to be picked up. And at the cinemas that we were at, they used to have local stars, like the Hollywood stars. And Darcy was bent over looking at those stars. And I was just standing there waiting for my friend to come and pick me up. And there was a lady heading towards us to walk past us with her son, who was probably about 12. And as she was walking past, she looked at Darcy and she said to her son, "Oh, look, he has a nappy on. How disgusting." And I remember thinking, did she just say what I think she said? And it took me like a minute or two to process that she had actually said that. And I was ready to attack, but she was gone. She was long gone, which was probably lucky because I think it would have ended up quite ugly. And I remember looking at Darcy and thinking, because he was incontinent, so, he had a pull-up on, but so what? I looked at Darcy and he was having a lovely time. He wasn't annoying anybody or bothering anybody. And I remember thinking to myself, why does she think it's okay to say something like that? And why is it her business? She's not taking him home to look after him. And then I started to think about her son, and I thought, my goodness, what is she teaching him? She's teaching him that difference is not okay, but it is okay because we're all different. Every single one of us on this planet is different, whether you have a disability or not. And I mean, it really hurt. It really hurt that day. And that's the sort of thing I want to stop. You can have your opinions, but, just don't say anything. Be kind. It's not hard. And then, the other thing I noticed when we first started taking Darcy out into the community was the stairs. And I learned as he grew that not all of them are stairs. So when he was a baby, I used to react to those stairs and tell people to take a photo and take her home so they could work out what was wrong with him. But as he got older, he started to feel that negativity, and I thought I need to change something because it was ruining our day, and it was probably ruining the other person's day as well. So I thought, next person I might just smile at. So I smiled at them and they smiled back, and I was really surprised. And this kept happening. And then I remember another time I smiled and they put their head down and walked off. So I learnt that not everybody is staring, they're just looking. But I hadn't ever noticed people looking at me before until I had Darcy. And then the people that are being judgmental will put their heads down and walk away. They won't acknowledge you at all. So I learnt that, and that helped us to then have a really good positive day. And it stopped me from reacting and attacking people unnecessarily. So I learnt that, and I think it's a really good strategy to have. But then you do still have people pointing. We have people pointing, laughing, and making comments. And I don't understand why they think that that's okay. I always let them know that I know what they've done. I don't react anymore though, because I've always got Darcy with me. So I don't want him to feel that negativity. But I definitely shoot them a look that makes them know that I know what they've done and it's not okay. And I think just by writing with my books that I write and with the public speaking and sharing my story with you, all those sorts of things are hopefully going to slowly improve that, because then other people will say, hey, you don't need to do that. That's not nice, or whatever. And, you know, I have a radio show as well where I interview people with a disability, and it's the same story all the time. We just want people to be kind. You know, we don't have to be best friends, but being kind so that we can all enjoy life as it should be lived is very important, I think. So, but yeah, I've got lots of stories that I could share with you. There's lots of good stories as well. There's a lot of beautiful people out in the community. When we go to concerts and things like that, I always get a tap on the back at the end of the show, and they always say, I wish that I could enjoy the show as much as your son is. You know, he just, because he has no filter, and he just enjoys it. If he wants to get up and dance, he does. If he wants to sing, he does, and he loves every moment. And a lot of people get a little jealous about that because they're frightened to do that because of judgment from others again, you know.
Yes.
So yeah, there's good stories and there's negative ones, but by sharing the negative ones, it just helps people to understand how those make us feel, and hopefully to instill kindness into everybody. So I know a lot of people say to me, I didn't even think about when I'm looking at someone like Darcy that might be perceived negatively, because that's not what we're doing. But I think as a mum, you just get defensive straight away with your child. So that's if you want more stories, I can tell you more.
Yeah, that's so many. Even though there are some negative one, like you say, but there are a lot of beautiful stories as well.
There are.
Yes, and the world is never. The world need more kindness, no matter towards people with disability or not. Everyone should be having more kindness towards other people. That would be so much better, right?
Oh yes, 100%. Because we all deserve to feel comfortable and safe where we are.
Yeah.
We all have the same rights, whether we have a disability or not.
Yeah.
You know, because we're all people. That's the other thing too. You know, Darcy isn't Down syndrome. Down syndrome is part of him and why he is the way he is as a person. So he's always a person first.
Yeah.
Just like you and I. You know, I mean, we have different backgrounds with our cultures. You know, I was raised with German culture, and you were raised with a different one as well, and that's okay. And I love that. I love learning about all the different things that people, you know, the food, the festivities, the traditions. I think it's lovely that we can all share that and not be judged for it. You know, when I was growing up at school, I was called names as well because my parents were German, but you know, that wasn't me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't them either, you know, so it's quite interesting. But I think we've got better as a society with certain things, but we just need to get better with other things as well.
Yeah, I love the message that you're sharing, because it's to instill inclusivity for everyone. Yes, that's like you say, we should be, togetherness is so important, right? And then instead of division and people dividing among people, that's where all the world, so many problems in the world nowadays.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, your message is so important, Julie. Keep going and sharing and spreading the message.
Thank you. I certainly will.
Yeah,
Definitely.
thank you so much for sharing that, Julie. Yeah, my heart feels so full listening to you, to be really honest. Yeah,
Thank you.
So for parents who may have the similar experience or similar journey like you, so what advice would you give to them to build confidence like you are doing for Darcy, to fully engage with their child in the community, so without feeling the fear?
Yeah, definitely surround yourself with like-minded people
Mm-mm.
and have that support, because I think that's really important, because otherwise you feel alone, and that's when you end up not wanting to go out because you feel alone and you feel judged. So having that support group for me was so valuable, and it's like, I always liken it to when you have your first child. So the hospital put you in touch with the first mums group over here in Australia. So you go along to the maternal health nurse centre, and all of a sudden you're introduced to a group of first-time mums. And I remember one time with my eldest son, I can't even remember what he was doing, but he was doing something as a baby, and I thought, oh, why is he doing this? I don't understand. And when I went to the group to catch up, all the babies were doing the same thing. And then it was like, oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness they're all doing the same thing. And then we all brainstorm strategies to work through those things. And it's the same when you're faced with anything, even like a disability. Get in touch with support, even if it's online support. There's a lot of online support now too. There's some great groups out there that support you and do some wonderful things in the community as well. I think that's definitely, and always talk to somebody, like even if it's a best friend, tell them how you're feeling, so that you can offload that as well. I think that's really important. But I think, support, and go along. There's some great workshops and things like that as well to help us with our kids. Go along to those too. I can never learn too much, I don't think. I always hop on some of these websites when Darcy was getting older, and now he's almost finished school, so I tap into the service providers that can help me with information, so I know what to look for him for when he finishes school, etc. And it was the same when he was little, transitioning into school and kinder and all of that sort of thing. So just sort of learn what's available from others and have that support. You definitely need at least one person that you can talk to and vent to and all of that sort of stuff. I think that definitely helps.
Yeah, so true. I think we need the support no matter what, so that we don't feel so lonely as well, because when we are...
you do. If you don't have that support and something happens, you feel lonely and isolated, and you don't know where to turn, so you just don't do anything, which is not good. So these guys, people like Darcy who live with a disability deserve to, as I said before, live life as it should be lived and experience things. They have wants and needs just like we do. He has likes and dislikes just like I do, and he deserves to be able to explore all of that and enjoy it as well.
Yeah, like what Kaylee always say, connection is so important, right? Because through that connection, through that support group, you know where to look for help. We know where to maybe enroll in the school, or where is a better childcare to go to. That's so important, right?
It is, yeah, definitely. And having the support. So if you think something's not right, you can go to your support and say, oh, this happened to us, at childcare or at kinder or out in the community. What do you think I should do about that? Has anybody experienced this before? And more than likely they'll say, oh yes, and this is how I dealt with it. And it just gives you the tools to push through those sorts of challenges. So
yeah, that's so true. Thank you so much for sharing that, Julie. So do you want to share with us about your books? I saw the 3 books behind you. Do you want to share with us about those books?
Yes, so the first one is The Unexpected Journey. That's the first one in the picture there. And that it was a bucket list item, to be completely honest. I just always had a dream of writing a book. So I, that's a story in itself as well. So I published the first book in 2019, and from that book, I could see that there was more, and that's where the fire started to burn. I was able to do some campaigns with Down Syndrome Victoria and Carers Victoria, and that wanted me to do more. And then we went into lockdown. But I was able to join a lot of webinars and things online, and during lockdown I wrote the second book, which is The Magic of Inclusion. And the first book is our journey from prenatal diagnosis to 13 years of age. The second book is more of our story, but also the importance of inclusion and acceptance. I touch on language in there, accessibility, and I have some questions answered by other mums in the back. And that was born in 2021. That was when that was published. And then the third book, From the Hearts of Mums, is a compilation of stories from mums around the world who care for children with Down syndrome. And we have 4 stories from the UK and 2 from the US, and the rest are Australian mums. And that was quite a process, but it was something that I think when I wrote The Magic of Inclusion, I thought I think it's important for other mums to share their stories, because then you can see our wishes for our kids and the similarities. You know, even though we've got different stories, there's a lot of similarities with things that are happening. And I have also just recently published my first children's book. I don't know if you can see, which is called
I did see you with Darcy holding that book.
Yeah, so that's about Darcy's first day. He did dual schooling, so he did 1 day a week at mainstream primary school and the rest at specialist education. And this book is about his first day at the mainstream school, and I'm going to release a series of these books all about the adventures that he had while he was there. So, and that they touch on the advocacy as well in those books, but in a nice way. You know, it's not. I don't make it nasty, that's for sure. But just sort of, you know, like in there, like I wrote a letter to all of the parents in the classroom to explain who Darcy was, and you know how their children should treat him, which was the same as everybody else, and that they could ask any questions that they wanted to. And it really opened a door for the kids to ask whatever they wanted to, and for the parents as well.
Wow.
And I did that for the first 4 years of primary school, and then after grade 3 I stopped because most of the kids had known him for a few years by then. So
wow, so you actually wrote the letter to each and every parents in Darcy class.
It was the same letter, and I think there was 25 parents that I photocopied it for or printed it for, and the teacher handed them out when they had their, you know, when they do it's called foundation now, but grade prep, they have like an assessment day. So the teacher gave them the letters on the assessment day for them to take home before they started school. So it was a really good system and worked very well.
Wow, so you're such an amazing mom. So how did you come up with that idea of writing to others' parents? I don't think many parents will do that.
It was actually the kinder teacher's idea. So my older 2 boys had gone through this kinder, and when Darcy was starting to come of age to go to kinder, she said, how about you write a letter to the parents and just explain who Darcy is, what he loves to do, and you know, and you can put whatever you want in there. They can ask you questions or anything like that. And she said, I think that just opens the door a little bit for them. So she was the reason why I did that, and then I kept doing it. And I've actually shared that letter with some other mums over the years, including a mum from overseas who contacted me. I forget the country that she's from, but the country she's from, it's very rare for a child with a disability to attend a mainstream school, but she advocated for her son so that he could attend the same school as his brothers, and she was successful. And she said, now I'm getting really nervous though. So I shared the letter with her and I gave her some strategies, and I must reach out to her actually and see how all of that's going. So yeah,
wow,
it's been a good tool. I've shared it on my social media as well for mums as well. So I think it's a good tool to have. Because sometimes people are frightened to ask questions as well. They don't know what to say. If you open the door and say that they can ask whatever they want, it really does open some great conversations.
Yeah, that kinder teacher is such a beautiful teacher as well.
Oh yeah, she was amazing. Yeah, amazing.
Oh, that's so good. Thank you so much once again, Julie, for sharing that. And yeah, the books has been such a great journey of yours, telling the stories, and you've been doing so many great things that advocates for the journey and helping others with the same journey as well. Thank you so much for doing that. So where can people find you online?
Okay, so I do have a website, juliefisher.com.au, and I have a page on Facebook called The Unexpected Journey, so they can follow me there. And I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn as Julie Fisher as well. So, but yeah, the book page is probably a good one for people to follow me on, because I'll share updates, I share quotes and, you know, things that I'm doing out in the community as well on that page. Everything goes on there that I do related to the advocacy work. So
I love that. So I'll include the links to all these social medias of yours and the website so that people can reach out to you. Yeah, like you say, people might be waiting for your message, and yeah, that, like you say, some of them might not be brave enough to reach out, but I think with Julie, you can ask her any question.
100% you can. And, you know, you can always just message, you know, send a text message or a messenger message. You know, sometimes people feel more confident doing things like that just to start the conversation. But yeah, I'm working on some workshops to put out there for families in the disability community, and I also do an expo which is in October in my local area every year. So I'm getting ready to really promote that at the moment, and I'll be promoting that on my social media too, so people can find out about that.
Amazing what they are doing, Julie. Yeah, thank you so much, Julie, for your time. It's such a great conversation to learn a lot more about you and also the journey that you are on. I really admire you for being so courageous and stand up not only for yourself but others as well. That's such an amazing work that you're doing, Julie.
Thank you. I think it's easy because everybody deserves a chance. And thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed chatting with you today. And
that's right. I really enjoyed the conversation as well. So one last question for you, Julie.
Okay.
So what will be the one piece of advice that you can give to other women out there? Because this is a 100 Successful Women podcast. So what is the message that you want to give other women out there?
Don't hold back. If you're unsure, find somebody that can help you with the tools. You've got to try and find, imposter syndrome sneaks in for all of us, and so that's a big one. So if it's a friend that you can talk to or your family that you can talk to push through that, that's another tool that you need, definitely. And yeah, get the support, ask questions, surround yourself with the people that can help you. You know, and as you mentioned before, Kaylee says one connection can change your life. And that's very, very true. So that one person that can help you with one piece might be that person that pushes you out there even more to do what you are passionate about doing. So yeah, just always remember your why as well. You know, that helps you push through the doubt. Because we all go through doubt, you know, when we're wanting to do new things. And yeah, remember your why. You know, my big why is Darcy. So every time I think of him, it gets me through that imposter syndrome, that's for sure.
That's so important, right? Always go back to your why you're doing it, because there are more people out there waiting for your message. And I think you are such a great like the guiding stars for many people. And then I always from a lot of the conversation that I have with the all the 50 plus women that I spoke to, it's always there are challenges that they face, but all these challenges is to be there to teach them a lesson. Like Tony Robbins always say, life is happening for you, not to you, right?
That's
you are on a bigger mission that's
and everything is a lesson. Everything is a lesson. You know, you can turn it to, okay, what does this mean? Always it's a lesson, definitely, and it shapes who we become. All of the things we go through. So
true. And give people a chance and watch them shine. Yeah, thank you so much for your time with us, Julie. I really enjoyed our conversation, and keep shining and spread the message.
Thank you so much, Vivienne. I've loved it today.
Thank you, and I'm looking forward to invite you again to share more of the story that we say we're going to, the one that we say we're going to leave for the next time. Thank you so much, Julie, and see you next time.
Okay, see you later. Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.